All right, got it. All right, okay. So we are live right now. Everybody watching us on YouTube, on Facebook. If you are on the Zoom, welcome. If you want to join us on the Zoom, but you are on Facebook or you are on YouTube, check the comment section on YouTube or check the video description on Facebook and see the link up there, and then join us on Zoom if you want to. But I'm sure you can still see everything and hear everything live from any other platform that works for you. So the plan today is to go through the F1, J1 or M1, whatever the student visa category you qualify for. The plan is to go through that process with you and sort of help you think through the process from A down to Z. And what we are planning to do, Alfred and I, is to go through everything that you need to know, like the overviews of things. And then at some point, we will resume to answering questions that you posted in a Google Doc, and then also questions that you would post either on YouTube or Facebook or even on Zoom right here. So there will be some Q&A at the end of the show. Remember that. So beginning, I am going to share my screen and show you some important things that we think you should remember. But in the meantime, we want you to know that it is possible to reach us via email. It is also possible to reach us via social media. It is also possible to reach us via YouTube. So I am going to be, posting a link from time to time so that if you want to reach us with any questions, with any concerns, anything at all, we try as best as we can to respond to your emails and text messages and whatever it is in 24 hours, within 24 hours. Also, we just created a WhatsApp group, which we will talk about, towards the end of the webinar. And I have also put the link in the chat. We will put the link in the on the YouTube channel as well, and all of our platforms, so that you can have access to our WhatsApp group, support group. Possibly all of us would keep it sane and not post unwanted things on there, because we hope that that platform will be the space for everybody to ask questions and to interact and to get ideas about the study abroad process. Having said all of that, let's move into the agenda for today. And I'm going to begin by sharing my screen, and Alfred and I would talk about the overviews of of the entire process, beginning from some important things. So give me a second here while I go live. Okay, right. Okay, Alfred,
Paul,
can you? Yes.
Quickly check your phone to see if you can access the YouTube. Then I'll take over from there.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Yes, I can. I'm seeing it.
Okay, so my name is Alfred and Paul is my friend, and we are now working together to ensure how we can help students and people who want to come to the United States to study. So as Paul already said, this is going to take you through all the practical things that you will need to apply for your F1 visa. There are a lot of things that you need to know that will help you make the process easy. So I hope that you can take some notes and keep your questions coming if you have any questions. Also join the WhatsApp platform so that we can support you immediately and when you need it. All right. So the first general advice that we want to talk about is about reading everything. In fact, every step in the process matter. Mm-hmm. So whatever you do, you must make sure that you cannot jump any step. There are no secret or hidden information. The US website, the embassy website has everything you need. So sometimes it is good to start from there, even aside the YouTube and the other online, blog that people write about visas. The best way to get most of this wonderful information is on their website. And as I said, there are no shortcuts. Every step counts. So try to follow the steps as much as possible. Because during getting your visa approved is a process, and you must always be patient. I've seen that a lot of people get their visas rejected because they are not patient. They rush, and they think after they get admission, they are coming to America, and they don't pay attention to so many things. They listen to people, they talk to the wrong people, they do the wrong things, and they get themselves into trouble. Mind you, if you get in touch, or if you get into the American system, they have your data, they have your record, they have everything. So you must make sure that whatever you do, whatever you put in the system, you know what you are doing. There are some possibilities. Some people get rejection and they go and they get approval, but it is always good to avoid that. In my first interview, I was rejected, but I was able to overcome it. Some people are able to overcome it in the third, fourth, or fifth time, but it is always important to avoid that. And you have to prepare well, as the next thing we want to talk about. Also, nobody has any power to manipulate the process on your behalf. There are a lot of fraud in the system. So it is important that you are aware of the information people are giving you. Nobody can say, I want to book an emergency appointment for you, because they don't have any support, like any control over the American process. All that they do is that they monitor the system, and as soon as an interview space is open, they get an interview for you. They don't do anything extraordinary. Nobody can get a visa for you. Give me your passport, give me your I-20. I'll speak to somebody and we'll help you get your visa. It doesn't exist. If you get a visa, you enter the interview room, they will interview you and they will take your passport. Mm-hmm. That is the evidence of you getting your own visa. No matter how good I am, I cannot take your passport. I cannot lead you to the embassy. No. All those who say that are fraud. Also, check your motives. Mm-hmm. Paul, will you talk about this one?
No, I wanted to say that, that point is very important, because sometimes people think that, these agencies out there and visa coaches and those, they have special powers that we all don't have. We all have equal powers. No agency, no single individual have like a special power that would make the visa process happen that you don't have. The power that they have is the same thing that you have. So it's a very important point. Nobody can manipulate the system on your behalf in any way. It is a free and fair process. If you can follow due diligence and follow the advice that we are giving you on this page, and also reading the US Embassy website, I think that you would be in a good position. Yeah, keep going, Alfred.
Good. And the next thing we want to talk about is your motive. In fact, when you are coming to the US as an F1, as a student, the purpose is for you to come and study. A lot of people, we understand sometimes there are some frustrations and people want to use studies as a means to migrate to the United States. Yes, you can do that. But the truth is that the consulates are well trained in a way that it is easy for them to fish out your motives. So it is always important for you to really get your motives right. That if you really know you are not coming to study and you just want to use student visa as a means to get into America to work or to find your way out, yes, you can do that. But there are so many ways they can find out, and that will affect your chances. So even if you have the motive of living in America and you think you can use studies as a way to come in, fine. Get a good motive, find a good course that you can use to come, and through that motive, that process helps you to defend yourself when you go to the interview. Yeah. And the last one is everybody stands a chance. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter the school you are coming. It doesn't matter the course you are coming to do. Everybody, so far as you can apply for a visa, pay for your visa fee, and go in for a visa interview, you have a chance of getting your visa. In the same way, everybody also stand a chance of getting rejected. I have been rejected before. Paul had never been rejected. I know a lot of friends who have been rejected. They were able to overcome it. But the truth is that your chances are 50-50. So don't be discouraged. Just keep your heads high and believe that you can work it out and get your visa.
Yeah, it is also very important to remember that studying abroad is not reserved for the superstar academics. It's not for the 4.0s and the 4 point whatever 5.0s and the 3.9s only. It is possible to have a second class lower and prove yourself and come up and still come and study. Because sometimes people have the idea that, oh, I have to be like academically exceptional to be able to get that. In fact, it is possible to have a 4.0 and still not get your visa approved, because the visa process and then the admission process and all of that, they are all like two different processes. So I think this is a very important point that I think all of us should, be encouraged with and be encouraged by, because you don't have to rule yourself out and say, oh, I didn't do so well, or I'm not too intelligent, so I cannot study abroad. You can, and there's a way around it. So we hope that you get to learn from that process. Moving on, Alfred, to the DS-160 form. And so for those of you, here, if you don't know what a DS-160 form, in simple terms, the DS-160 form is your visa application form, the page that you go and type in your bio information, and you type in your destination, where you're going, and that kind of thing. That's your main form. That's where they get to collect your personal information. That's where they get to collect all the information that, based on that, they're going to interview you and then decide whether you qualify for the visa or not. And that means that this application form is a very, very, very important form. And that is to say that one of the biggest advice that we can all give you is to try to avoid errors. Try to avoid errors in every aspect of your life. But I think most importantly, at this stage in your life, it is best to cross-check every single thing you put in your form. Cross-check the spelling, cross-check the numbers. There's no excuse. If you were born in 1990 and you type 1980 and you submit it, there's no way you can just go there and verbally explain and say that you made an error. It could be interpreted as you trying to forge your date of birth, or like hide a certain information about yourself. So there are no excuses to errors at all. It pays to check your form 15 times, 20 times, 30 times before you hit submit. The second thing that you need to check very carefully is the visa category that you're applying for. Because if you're applying for an F1 visa and you mistakenly hit F2, that's it. It changes the requirements. It changes it changes the expectation of the consular, because the requirement for J1 is slightly different from the requirement for F1, as it is also for F2. So make sure you check the correct visa category that you are applying for. The next thing is sponsorship ID. That is to say that the embassy or part of the F1 visa application process is to declare a sponsor. And a sponsor could be the school through scholarships. It could be a combination of different sources, which could be the school, a family member, yourself, or an institution, be it a church or a job or whatever. Make sure that you are putting in the right sponsorship information. So if it is your school sponsoring you plus your own personal funds, make sure that that is consistent, because your sponsorship, your sponsor's info should not be different in the form from what it is on your I-20. So make sure that there's a good consistency in that. If it is your uncle or your father, and we'll talk more about that in another slide, but whoever is sponsoring you and whoever's name is on your I-20, make sure that when you're filling that form, you put that correct identity there as well. Alfred, it will be good for you to talk about the address thing, because that's where a lot of people make mistakes when you're going to, you are going to the school and somebody in the US. For example, a brother or a friend in the US, and you probably will spend a few more days at your friend's house before you go to your campus. And then you're filling the DS-160 form and you say, oh, I will be hosted by my brother. it doesn't make sense. You are going to be hosted by your school. Your primary host is your school. So even if you're going to stay with your uncle, or you're going to stay with your brother or your friend that you know in the US for a while, or even for a semester, or even for a period of time, make sure that you make your school your first and foremost host, because that is where you are coming. They are the ones who invited you. They are the ones who extended you the money that you needed, and they are the main reason why you are in the US. So make sure that that is very clear. It is always important to use your school as your host address. Alfred, you have anything to say about that?
Yes, I think over the years, I have seen a lot of people who get their visas rejected because of the DS-160 form. What we don't know is that, when you fill your DS-160 form, you get a confirmation page which you take to the interview. So as soon as you go, that's what the consulars type in, so that it brings in your information. There's a way that the system can flag you red if you fill the DS-160 form wrongly. So always make sure that you use your school as your host. So when you are speaking and the consulars are typing and they are watching on the screen, there are times they try to see if you filled your DS-160 form well.
Right.
In terms of contact person in the US, the DS-160 form will also ask you for a contact person. On your I-20, there's a specific name from the school, a specific person, officer, whose name and contact and address and all that emails are on the I-20. Make sure that is what you put on your DS-160 form, because you are coming to study. It is important. It is very, very important for you to check on that. The next thing is relatives in the US. In fact, the consulars are interested to know if you have relatives in the US. And this is a little bit, it's very tricky sometimes. And if you have your father, your mother in the US, you cannot lie about it, right?
Course, yeah.
Because that is your primary relative. But in terms of your uncle and your friend and your cousin, there's no need to use them as your relatives.
Yeah.
And anyone,
or your in-law.
Yes, or your in-law.
Yeah, like basically any, I'm sorry, the slide is just messing up. But any distant relative, I don't know. I don't know what other people think, but we think that it's probably not necessary. Like
Yes.
your sister's husband, your sister's husband's friend, or a boss, or those people. They are distant. They are distant. What do you call it? Contacts. And in my opinion, in our opinion, we don't think it necessarily matters to declare those people as relatives. It will be very important for you to declare your brother, your blood brother. It will be very important for you to declare your mother, your father, or your junior brother, or your wife. Those kinds of things are close relatives. But anything outside, like extended family and all of that, or even if it's your legal guardian, yeah, those ones make sense. But anything beyond that, because we see that a lot, Alfred, people would just put in all these like extended relationships that they don't even like talk to these people, but just because they know them, they put them in their forms, and it goes a long way against them.
And Paul, the other aspect of it is that whoever you put as your relative must be aware that you are putting their details. In fact, it may be that your sister who is in the US is not even here legally. He still has a lapse and he's having his own issue. So as soon as you put him there, you put her there, they ask you question about her, it is going to affect you. Yeah. Also, whenever you have a relative in the US, it gives you additional responsibility to prove beyond reasonable doubt that you will not stay. Those people will not help you stay
stay
here. So when we get to the questions, we will look at it. But it is okay to say that, yes, I have my brother here, but I'm purposely coming to study and I have no plan of staying with him or staying over with him after my. Just make it clear as soon as possible that you have no plan of staying with your uncle or your brother or your sister. Make sure you inform them. You know that they are in the right. Their status in the US is correct. It's right. If their status is illegal, for example, your sister came to school here, his visa has expired, he's not working, he doesn't have any work permit, and he's here illegally, you don't have to put that person on your visa form.
It might even go against you.
And it's going to even affect the person. It's going to put a red link on that person's information. And mind you, the US have every information about everyone who is in their country. So there's
Right.
no hidden things. The other
Right.
aspect on the DS-160 form is your employment or role. It is important, whatever you are doing, you clearly put it on your DS-160 form. I am a management assistant with Danwell Group of Company. Then the form will ask you about your role. It is also good to state about 4 or 5 things you do in a clear, simple language. Make sure that you don't make grammatical errors. You are coming to study, and in America, the means of studying is in English. And if you cannot prove that you can type good English, what shows that the consular should give you the visa? In some jurisdictions, in some places, consulates require TOEFL before they issue visas. So it means that your ability to express yourself on your DS-160 well is also important. And the last one is photo ID.
Yep.
The DS-160 form requires you to upload a photo ID. Don't just take any photo that you think is okay and upload it. It will red flag your form. It will give an indication that will not make the consular pay attention to you. Imagine when we are going for the visa interview in Ghana, we have over 200 people in a day, and your consulates are not up to 5. So assuming we have 5 consulates, divide 200 people by 5. You could see that a day consulates spend so much time on people. So they don't have time when you have a mistake. They just flag you up. They just don't have time. They ask you 1 or 2 questions and they reject you. Then you think, oh, I didn't establish mine. No, your problem was on your DS-160. So make sure you get the correct dimension of photo. When you are filling a DS-160 form, all that is there. You must, the photo must be 6 months, not more than 6 months old. The photo must be on a white background and all that. Even if you are able to upload a photo, get a hard copy of it and go along with it. If you are not able to upload the photo, that is fine. You can submit your DS-160 form and go with the hard copy. Finally, on the DS-160 form, make sure that consistency and honesty is important. Because when you appear for the interview, you are only going to confirm and verify all that you have put on the DS-160 form. There's no question they ask you that does not have any connection on the DS-160 form. Who is sponsoring you? It's on the DS-160 form. Where will you be staying? It is on it. What are your plans after school? It is on it through your work and all that. There are so many ways they are able to use the DS-160 form to check your sincerity. So make sure you work on that.
And ultimately, just be truthful. There's no need lying about anything. Sometimes people would email you and say, oh, I am married, but I heard that it is difficult to get a visa if you are married. So I want to say that I am single. I don't think that is helpful. Just be truthful. Just present yourself as who you are. There's no need manipulating your date of birth or any information at all. Just go out there, tell the sincere truth, show that you are passionate about studying, and prove that you are able to take care of yourself, and that afterwards you're going to go back home and help. And that's it. That's how basic the process is, right? Let's move on to something else, which often comes up very, 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 very very often, I should say, which something we call the 3P laws, which is these for us. These are the main policies. We are not lawyers and we are not immigration experts, but from experience and from extensive reading, these are the 3 main things that you need to establish with strong proof to get your visa, which is your purpose of travel. Why are you going to study? And for J1, M1, F1 student, your main purpose of travel is to study, right? And that should be established very strongly and very clearly. The second thing is, do you have enough money to go and study what you say you want to study? That is very important. And that's what the bank statement and all the sponsorship and scholarship and all of that comes in. Sometimes people take it abstractly. They say we need bank statements, so we are going to collect bank. Don't think about it that way. Don't think about it as you needing bank statement. Rather, think about it as you proving that you can take care of yourself in terms of money. And I think that that's where it starts from. Then the last thing is to prove that you are going to return home to your home country. And this is very important because the student visa is not a resident visa. It is not a is not an immigrant visa, I should say. It is a non-immigrant visa, which means that the primary reason why you are going to be issued the visa is because you are going to return back home. And that's why proof of ties, proof of connection back home, your plans and all of that are very important. So in a nutshell, these are the three main things that you need to establish to be able to get your visa. And it is always good to think about it this way, rather than thinking about it as like collecting a bunch of documents to go and prove to somebody there so that they can give you. Think about it this way. This is what they are looking for. They are looking for genuine people who want to go and study. They're looking for genuine people who want to go and study, but also have the money. And they're looking for genuine people who want to go and study. They have the money, and afterwards they are going to return. If you can prove these three things, done deal. All right. Now,
Yes.
let's.
Oh, continue.
I was going to say we want to talk more about that in the next slide. Like, go into
let me touch on it small. And usually when people go for the American visa interview, F1, and they deny you, they always give people the same letters, 2-1B.
Yeah.
And people say that, I was giving 2-1B, and they said 2-1-4B. I couldn't prove my ties back home. No, 2-1-4B is not just about proving ties back home.
It's everything here.
Everything we have talked about here, right? So the law, let me read the law quickly. It said every alien, and we are all alien, that is people who are coming in, shall be presumed to be an immigrant until he establishes to the satisfaction of the consular officer at the time of application of a visa and the immigration officer at the time of the application of admission that he is entitled to a non-immigrant status. So this law is in two folds. First, you have to prove to the consular that you don't have any intent of coming to stay in America permanently. And that is not only about your proving to return home. That is also about why are you coming to study? Because if why you are coming to study is for you to get access into America, it is 2-1-4B. And it is about how much do you have or who is sponsoring. And if there's nobody who is willing to sponsor you, and you sincerely know that nobody, the consular believe that nobody can sponsor you, and you are coming, then it means that you are not coming to study. And that is what the consulars think, and they will deny you the visa. The other point is that even when you get your visa, you still have to prove otherwise. Because when you get to the immigration officer, the port of entry, where you meet an immigration officer and he will admit you, he also has a right to assess your intent.
Yes.
That is why I tell people, when you get your visa, your flight should be directed straight to where your school is. Go to school, after take your flight back to anywhere you want to visit. You are coming to school in Georgia, in Atlanta, then your final destination is Washington, D.C. Or your final destination.
What are you going to do there?
in New York, right? So when you get the immigration officer can reject you, can stamp your visa back and bring you back. Obviously, we don't see that happening a lot, but these are some of the things you must be aware. 2-1B is not just about proving ties home. 2-1B is showing that genuinely you are coming to study, genuinely you have money to sponsor yourself, and genuinely you will come back after studies. There's always a way to prove that.
Awesome. Before we move on, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute and remind everybody that this webinar is freely to put ourselves out there and to help everybody think through the F1 visa process. And I'm sure a lot of you are preparing for that interview. So also to remind you that we have a WhatsApp group, a WhatsApp chat group that we just created brand new to help people and to support people. We also have a lot of great videos that I have made, Alfred has made, and we've posted them on our respective channels. So go out there, look at the channel, subscribe to our channel just to support us also with what we are doing. And then also we have an email that both of us can see, and feel free to email us with any questions that you may have, any conversations at all that you may have regarding your process, and we will freely help you. So look in the chat and go into the chat, look into the chat, and put your questions, and look up some of our videos and some of the things that we have done. Now, going back to the webinar, right? We would continue by explaining further some of the things that we already talked about, which is the purpose of travel. So now imagine yourself at the interview. This is what it means. You are at the interview. You have your I-20, you have all your documents, and we'll talk about the documents at the end. But these are some of the questions that might come to interrogate your intention and your motive, And these questions are very basic questions, but it will surprise you how many people misunderstand this and misanswer this. And some of the questions may include, why America? Why not Australia? Why not Germany? Why not India? Why America? Where are you going? If you're going to Washington, like you rightly said, where? You should have a knowledge of it. You're going to Georgia. You're going to, the Midwest, wherever it is that you're going. Why did you choose this school? How many schools did you apply to? How did you hear about the school? Tell me about your school. Why are you going to what are you going to study, and why are you going to study? All these kinds of questions. What I want to say before Alfred comes in is that when you hear these kinds of questions, right, think first that the consular is trying to establish your purpose of travel. The consular is trying to discern through your responses if you are a good student and you're a genuine student and you're not just somebody using the student visa as a way of getting into America. That's the first thing, because they are assuming, they have their own assumptions, and it's the right assumption, right? They're assuming that everybody coming in is a potential immigrant. It's a potential opportunist looking to take advantage of the system and to explore their own hidden interests. So your purpose as a student is to establish that really, I am a student. I am going there to study. And so your responses must be, clear enough. They must be simple enough. They must be reasonable, and they must be convincing, and the convincing part is very important, because sometimes people give certain answers that they read and memorized on the internet. And there's no right or wrong. There's no right one answer to give, because sometimes people go and memorize stuff on the internet. Just because somebody said it and got the visa doesn't mean that if you say that same thing to that same question, it would be the right answer to it. It wouldn't, because everybody has like unique stories and that kind of thing. So the point is that when you get all these questions, think about your story, think about your own interest, and first of all, think about what the consular is expecting, which is the consular is trying to discern if you are genuinely going to America to study. So maybe Alfred, you can, talk us through some of that.
I love this part so much, because for me, this is where your story must speak. Your uniqueness must speak. A lot of people go to the US Embassy and they ask them, why are you going to study in America? Oh, I'm going to study in America because America is good. They have the library, they have this. UK also have good libraries. They have good faculty, good professors.
Some schools in Africa even do.
Yes, schools in Africa. University of Ghana has good library, good professors and all that. So the issue is not just about what is in America. The issue is about a need you have identified, and you want to meet that need, and you believe you can only meet that need in America. So you are not just going to America because America is beautiful. You are going to America because you have seen a need. You have identified a challenge that you want to solve. For example, you are an insurance officer working with Danwell Insurance Company in Ghana. And through this, you have realized that maybe you are an actuarial science student from your undergraduate and you want to come and study masters. That is your story. Your story that when you go and they ask you, why are you going to study in America? You tell them that currently I'm working as an insurance officer at Danwell, and I'm in charge of what? Insurance policy management. But over the past years, I feel I need an upgrade. I need to upgrade myself to do this, to do that. So I saw this school online, or my supervisor recommended this school for me to go and study in order to come back and become an insurance analyst in my company. This tells a story. This shows that you have a plan, right? So it is always important for you to good. it is always important for you to have a story. When I was coming to America to study, right, I was coming to do theology. I am an accounting student, Bachelor of Commerce student. So I should always, during my interview, I must prove to the consular that I just did not stand up to come and study. I must prove to the consular that I am coming to America because I have a need. So when I went, I said, yes. Say, why are you coming to study? Why are you going to study? I said, yes, currently I'm working as a youth president for this organization. And I'm in charge of this and in charge of that. I believe I will need theological education to help me, especially when I'm involved in counseling and pastoral care needs for youth. This shows that I have a story. That story will be different from so many people who go for the interview that day.
Yep.
So don't go and say, oh, I chose the school because the school have good environment. They gave me good funding. Always don't bring in that. When they ask you how you are going to study in America, don't bring in funding. The funding should be when they ask you about sponsorship. I'm going to study in America because the school offered me a scholarship. So it means if the school offered you a scholarship in a course you don't need, because they offered you a scholarship, you will go. And always bear in mind that the consulars are looking for world changers. They are looking for people who can make impact, who can contribute to society. So your academic goal will come there. Why you are coming to study in America should be a reason that will prepare you to be a solution giver in the world, whether in your community or wherever. So this is how you should think about some of these questions. Always let yourself speak. Don't go and copy somebody's response from the internet. Ask yourself, what am I doing? Why do I need this course and why do I need it in America? Mm-hmm. And use that to respond. That would be very, very helpful.
Yep. I'm sure there are like a number of things that we can say about this, but it would be good for us to move on and then get to the question and answer column, and then some of the specifics can come up, and we will try to address those ones. The next one is the sufficient funds thing, because you think about it yourself. You say you want to go to America, a place you probably have never been, right? A place that your parents are not, your siblings are not, most likely. For the majority of us, that's what the situation is. It's a new country. It's not your country. You are not a citizen of that country. You don't have the permit to work in that country. You don't have any connections in that country. You don't have any qualifications to work in that country. How will you survive in that country? That is why it is a requirement that when you apply to come to this country, you have, as part of the process and the requirement, you have to prove that while you are there, whatever money you need to survive, you can have it. And that's why it's important. And it's very important because sometimes people try to cut corners with this and then hope that somehow through some magic, the money will drop from heaven. It's different from being courageous and being hopeful. That's different. Being optimistic is different. But cutting corners is the worst. So the point is, when you receive questions like, who is your sponsor? What does your sponsor do? How much does your sponsor earn? What is your relationship with your sponsor? How much do you have in scholarships? How and where did you get the scholarship? And so on and so forth. All these questions about funding and money and scholarships is to establish the one single point that, oh, this guy or this girl has the money to do what he or she is saying that they have they want to go and do in America. And it shouldn't just be money, but it should be sufficient money, because sometimes people get accepted and then they they read their scholarship letter and they have, $30,000. Like, yeah, because maybe they probably have not heard about $3,000 is what, how big or small that is. And they are very excited. They gave me $3,000. But, always think about your scholarship in comparison to the estimate amount that you need for a certain period of time, maybe 1 year or one semester. And that's what is going to tell you whether your money is sufficient or not. So if you need $40,000 and you get $5,000 in funding, $35,000 balance is like huge and almost impossible if you don't get any other help. If you need $40,000 and you get $38,000, that is, to me, and I'm sure to the consular, sufficient funds, because the difference is just $2,000. You still have to make up for that, but it is sufficient funds to get you started, right? So it's not just getting any money, it is getting enough money to do that. Now, one big misconception, and I'm sure Alfred is going to talk about this, is, a lot of people go to the embassy saying, my uncle is sponsoring me, my auntie is sponsoring me. And that has become like the cliche of all sponsorship questions. It is, for me, it is one of the worst answers to ever give. Unless really, really, your uncle is sponsoring you, and your uncle in the past or in your relationship with your uncle has been involved in your sponsorship. Now, I say this because your sponsor also has to, the person giving you the money, and how much the person is giving you, it has to make sense. You understand? For example, if you say your brother-in-law is giving you $25,000 to go and study MBA, the first question that comes to anybody's mind is like, what? Your brother-in-law is a good person. We are assuming that your brother-in-law is a good person. He's a kind person. He can give you that money. But for what reason would that a brother-in-law give you $25,000? Like, strangely, why couldn't he give it to anybody else but you? Compare that also to my father giving me $25,000, or my school gave me a sponsorship of $25,000, or I have $25,000 myself. Compare those three answers. Which one is the strongest? It makes a lot more sense that your own parents are giving you the money than your brother-in-law, right? I'm not saying that it is impossible that you would get the visa if your sponsor is a distant person, but I'm saying that it is less likely, and it makes much more sense if you can connect your sponsor, or you can find a sponsor that is closer to you, a sponsor that has a reason, a stronger reason to give you the money that you need than just any random sponsor that you're collecting money from. Another important thing is that many people associate themselves with agencies that are using the same bank statement that they collected from a random company, and they are sending it to like multiple schools. Let me say this in a very sarcastic way. Whoever the consular is, whoever is running the embassy, is not dumb. Okay, they know their jobs, they know what they are doing. They can read and they can write. How on earth do you think that collecting the same bank statement from one agency that they are using for like 100 people would work out for you? It might have worked out for a few people at the beginning, but it is very risky to do that, to like forge bank statements and that kind of thing. And so the question will be, where do I get the money? I always tell people, work hard on your application so that with your application, you might be able to get more money in sponsorships from your school. Or if you're looking for sponsors, look for sponsors that are genuinely interested in your work and are willing to show beyond just giving you like random bank statement, but will write a letter, would go the extra mile to show that they are interested in you, give you an appointment letter to show that even if you return back home, they are strongly interested in you. Show beyond reasonable doubt that your sponsor is connected to what you want to do, connected to you in a certain way that it is convincing and persuasive to say, oh yeah, that makes sense. And I'm sure Alfred has a very good story with that.
Yes. And Paul, I think what you said is very true, because studying in US is very simple, but sometimes it can be challenging because, as you said, you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt, and your proof must be reasonable. And the issue is that we are not saying that your auntie, your uncle, or whoever cannot sponsor you, but just listen to this story. Somebody who is coming to study public health, right? Masters in public health. So that person has an auntie who is a medical doctor, who has a clinic. And this person goes to the interview room and says that, oh, I am coming to study public health. I have a degree in public health. I'm working in this clinic. And it is my auntie who is sponsoring me. Who is your auntie? My auntie is the doctor in this clinic. Obviously, if I'm a consular, this person has shown that his sponsorship is sufficient and reasonable. Yeah, it makes sense because your auntie will indirectly have interest in the course you are coming to study. So ask yourself, why will somebody give you $30,000 in Ghana cedis? It is times 6. You must raise times 6 of that money to come to America for 1 year. Just ask yourself that. So these are things not just to put fear in you, but these are truths that will help you prepare well and ask and try to explore all the various and possible options. For example, when I was coming, my first visa interview was rejected because I went and my question was, who is sponsoring you? And I said, my sister is sponsoring me. Then he asked the question again, what do you do? And I said, I'm a youth leader. And he said, what are you coming to study again? I said, I'm coming to study Master of Divinity. Then she came back. So who is sponsoring? And I said, my sister. Obviously, why will my sister, I have to raise $25,000. By then, the dollar was 4.8. Why will my sister, who is working with the electricity company of Ghana, yes, even though maybe, let's assume she has the money to sponsor me, but why will my sister give me that money to come and study and after I'll go and be a pastor in a church? It may be that my sister genuinely want to sponsor me. My sister genuinely want to give me the money so that, yes, I will go and be the pastor. Maybe my sister want to support me, but would the consoler believe?
Yeah,
that is the question. It's not just about the story you tell. It is about the story the consoler will believe. So when it comes to funding, it is important. That is one of the ways you must always spend time on. That is why it is always good to put in good application to get good scholarship and speak to people, speak to companies. And one other thing, Paul, you mentioned, but you didn't touch on that. When you say a company is sponsoring you, you don't need a company's bank statement because a company's bank statement is only to the board of directors. Who are you to get an access to a company's bank statement? And with that, why would the company sponsor you when you have already shown on your DS-160 that you are a teacher? Unless you are saying that the company is sponsoring you to come and take up a position. Because we know, those of us who are working with companies, we know that companies sponsor themselves. They have a social responsibility to their own workers, and they sponsor them to take up bigger responsibility. They give scholarship, they give steady leave and funding for people. So when your uncle is the boss in that company, your uncle can lobby to get a good letter for you. What warrants you for the whole company to give you $20,000 to come and study? So these are things you should think of. Some people are asking, what if my guardian is sponsoring me? What if my foster father? Yes, your foster father can sponsor you. I know somebody who is doing theology, whose sister sponsored him, whose uncle sponsored him, but he was able to make reason out of the sponsorship. He was able to make reason. If your guardian is sponsoring you, yes, are you the only son? Are you the only daughter? Why will he raise that money? Now, the next question will come to, what does he do? Because if what the person does, at the end of the year, the person is getting probably $80,000, and the person has to give you over $30,000 for you to come and study for a year. What about the other responsibilities? So it is not just about, yes, my guardian can sponsor me. Yes, your guardian will sponsor you. But brainstorm and think about, how will I convince the consoler? How will I make the consoler believe that, yes, my guardian is sponsoring me?
It makes sense. It makes sense for your guardian to sponsor you. Yeah.
Yes. Put yourself in the shoes of the consoler. Then I come and say, yes, my guardian is sponsoring me. My guardian is let's say a politician, right? And he's sponsoring me to come and study theology. He's sponsoring me to come and study medicine. Then you can connect it by saying that, for example, in my family, I am the first person who have gotten the opportunity to study higher education. And my guardian is so happy and proud of me. And he's willing to support me so that I can come back and become this and become that. You see, it makes sense. You have shown your quality. There are times, sometimes people go to interview. They are doing so well in their company. Maybe the company is giving them sponsorship. You have been given an award. You must mention it.
But they don't mention it. They don't mention it. They just go and show my statement and hope that somebody would just.
Yes, Paul, it could be that when you graduated from UCC, from University of Nigeria or whatever, you were the first, you had a first class. So because of that, your family was so excited, and they want to try everything possible for you to attain higher education because you have been handed, because what you had a first class, you were given a special, so that really exposed your quality. And it is that your family, every family is proud of their good words. So it is important, always connect it with the good reason. What of a church sponsoring? Do I need a bank statement? If a church is sponsoring you, you have to look at what is the level of the church. If a church in Bremen Siam, a congregation, a 50-man church is sponsoring you, How much does the church owe? There's a difference between a church and the hierarchy. Maybe you are a Methodist, so the entire Methodist
the denomination, like you are talking about
yes,
denomination and then
denomination
congregations
and congregation. So it must be clear. A small congregation, yes, want to sponsor you, but what is the reason? The reason is that maybe our congregation have established a scholar scheme to support brilliant but needy students. And this year I qualified, and the church is willing to sponsor me. This makes sense.
It does.
You see, it makes sense a lot. It's not just about my church is sponsoring me. This is their bank statement. That is not what they are looking for. They want you to prove that there's a reason that out of the 200 people in your church, out of the 50 youth, out of the youth who are singing and who are playing drums, who graduated, you are the one they are sponsoring. It is because maybe they have established a scholarship scheme to support the church members and to raise maybe young scholars in the community. And you happen to be the first person to qualify for that scholarship. Then you can go there. Yes, we have a lot of questions and you answer them very briefly. So don't.
Yeah, the last thing that I want to touch on briefly is that don't focus on presenting your documents if you are not asked. Sometimes people get too overwhelmed with all the documents. Imagine yourself as a consular interviewing 500 people a day, and you are reading everybody's pile of documents. Can you finish your work that day? They care about your documents, and your documents are important, and it is a requirement that you carry your documents with you. But don't be so subsumed in presenting your document. And sometimes people reach out to you and say, oh, they didn't even look at my document and they denied me. Yes, that's what they do. They don't look at documents. That's the point. You have to have the documents, but that's not the most important thing. They want to have an interaction with you. It is you that they want to have a conversation with. So focus also on your oral conversation with them. If they ask for a document, pull it out and give it to them. But don't go and wait and say when they ask you who is sponsoring you, say, oh, this is my letter. That's not what they want to know. They want to hear you talk. So don't focus too much on presenting your documents if you have not been asked. If you're asked, do it. Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you a very short story about documents. Somebody went to the embassy in Abidjan, and for the embassy, Abidjan, they take your document first. The consular go through before they call you. So out of your document, they ask you questions. So that's the opposite of what people are looking for. And he has gotten a scholarship. Then the consular is asking, why did you get this amount of scholarship? He wasn't able to explain. All that he thinks is that I'm getting a scholarship. Why did you get a scholarship?
Yep.
You got a scholarship because maybe you had a 4.8 GPA and you applied it. You must explain. The scholarship is for young women who are into justice, or it's for young women who are looking at sexuality and whatever, or people who are going to dentists, or give a reason.
Yep.
They are reading his document. They are looking at his document, which is a strong document, but he's not able to defend it.
Yes. And because of that, he might be denied. Mm-hmm.
Your verbal expression, your defense. So you are going to more like do a defense when you go for your interview. So always think about it. Very important.
Yes. And usually the reason you are giving a certain amount of money is in your what do you call it? It's in your sponsorship letter. So read your sponsorship letter and to tell you why you got the money. The last big thing that we want to talk about is the ties to your home country. And this is where a lot of people also have questions, because like we mentioned, the three things that they're looking for is somebody who is really interested and has a purpose to travel and can sponsor himself, number two. And then the third thing is that the person is going to return. And if the person is going to return, then the person must have something that would naturally make him or her come back home, right? So returning is a very important thing. And that's where the ties to home country come in. It's not just an abstract idea that people are making a lot of big issues out of this, but that's not what it is. The point is that you should be able to prove that afterwards you're coming back home. And that's where you get questions like, do you have relatives? How many siblings do you have? And where are your siblings? Are you married? Do you have children? How old are you? How old are your parents? What are your goals and all of that? Because think about it. If you have aging parents who are growing old, and you are going to study in America, you definitely would not want to stay, in the country. Like logically, you would not want to stay in the country and watch your aging parents age, get sick, and die off without coming back home to see them. So it shows to some extent, it might not be the strongest proof, but it shows to some extent that there's something home that might compel you to come back. Some of the things would be like a job. Like if you have a very lucrative job, and it's even better if your job is the ones sponsoring you to go and study, and they are the ones who have given you a promise that if you return back home, they're going to give you this number of like roles and this position to come and serve in. That could be like a strong tie. If you are married, and sometimes people confuse this, if you are married and your spouse is at home or your child is at home, then definitely as a logical person and a normal person, it makes sense to think that or expect that you would not stay somewhere in a foreign country and watch your young child or your young spouse live alone and raise a child alone. So your family can be some sort of a strong ties to you, your siblings, if you have a lot of them and they are in your home country, that can be like a way of proving your strong ties. And sometimes property that you own, like if you own a property, you own a land, you own something very significant, something substantial, it's a proof that you are going to come back home, right? So these are some of the ways that you can, show proof that, there's something going to tie you back to your country. Now, let me say this is very important, that all the ideas that we are throwing out there, they are not the only ways you can prove things. That's why anytime we talk about all these things, we talk about the main purpose, the main goal, the main thing we are trying to prove. And in this case, the main thing we are trying to prove is the fact that you have intentions of returning back home. And however you are going to explain and show in a very convincing, persuasive, demonstrative way that you will return back home, I think you should explore that pathway. In my case, I basically said that I have a strong interest. I did have a job, a job letter that was going to get me back home, but that didn't come up. What came up was, what are your goals? And I'm like, oh, this is where I need to prove to them that my goal and my career plan is back home, right? It is with my people in my home country. So I said something like, oh, I plan to return back home and be involved in this and that is going on in my country because I'm very passionate about it. And I've been doing it for a while, based on my experience. I'm like, oh, nice. This guy is thinking about his home country. So those are some of the subtle ways you can sort of like nudge yourself into. There are situations where like already another aspect of your story has given you away so much that you might need a stronger evidence to show that you will come back home. And that's where like maybe your savings or your property or something more substantial than just saying that you're going to return back home will be important. But for the most part, showing your clear intention that you have a passion-driven interest in coming back home and connecting your life to your home country is enough to show that you will return home.
Yes, Paul, I think that is a wonderful way to describe it. One of the ladies I coach, and she had her visa last weekend. When she went, one of the questions came, and you see, when you go for the interview and they ask you, what are your plans after school? And after you don't get your visa, then it is your own mistake. Yeah. I'm telling you. Because when the consular brings himself, that what is your plan after school? That is the time to make yourself big in your society. Yeah. This lady, she contacted me and I told her that, okay, so when she go, she comes from one of the northern region in Ghana, right? And she was like, so she is a woman and her primary interest is to be involved in politics and also women empowerment in the northern region.
Especially that sounds good already.
Yes, especially when women are dropped out of school and teenage pregnancy. So for her, her primary goal is to encourage women in the northern region of Ghana. And Koso said, oh, okay, that sounds good. You see, it is so sweet, so nice, so wonderful. So it is sometimes you can use your own community as an example. Sometimes you can use your own, you are currently a teaching assistant. So you are going to study in order to return to be a research assistant. You are going to study in order to return to be a lecturer. Like, let your experience talk. Let yourself talk. What is your current situation? How does your studies, how will it help you meet your career goal? And what is the benefit? What benefit would the entire society have? They are not looking for something that will just make you great. They are looking for something that will make the world great. Because, sometimes the consulars know that if you have a very wonderful plan. Even when you are in America, American government can benefit from you.
Yep.
They are looking for, you see, they are looking for skilled people in their country. They are looking for people who can enhance their potential, not people who can give them problems. So it is important to think generally, think about your society, think about your area. Maybe if your church is sponsoring you, think, is there a problem? Is there something that you think you are going to be empowered to come and do? Maybe you are going to study because, yes, your church wants you to have that kind of diverse perspective so that you can come back and teach in your church Bible school, so that you can bring that diversity, you can bring that uniqueness. Now the world is moving into a diversified world. So try to be unique. Your goals should not be I'm going to study so that after I return to my country and work where. Right?
It's too shallow.
Yes.
Like you rightly said, at the end of the day, as I have realized it, and also from the experiences of other people, those who really take the time to think about the process very well and for a long time, they are the ones who usually get the visa. Because if you know these three things we've already talked about, and you are thinking about ties to your home country, and you think deeply about your own story and the things that you are passionate about, I'm very sure, Alfred, that you can find a solid reason that would make sense to the consular and will strengthen your story and will strengthen the reason why you should be back home. So think about
when
your
I
life
went to interview, Paul, I was asked why didn't I study the course in Ghana? But I'm going to study in Colombia. I said, well, because as a youth leader, I believe that I need some perspective. I'm going to the school because of the perspective I carry, and I hope to bring that perspective into Ghana to come and help bring a different story in the religious. So always be unique, and this comes by planning, thinking, by trying to work on and see what you can answer, getting proper coaching, getting proper help, reading and speaking to the right people.
That's right. Well, we'll move on so that we can get to the question column and see what other people are thinking. But it is important for you to remember that, like I said, I have put here, I've seen some of your questions and all of that. We have put here our helpline, which is the email Bayet Lamad, which means the house of learning. Bayet Lamad. Oh my goodness, I typed this thing wrong. The email, Alfred, please help me correct the email. I think the email address is wrong.
Okay, I will type it there.
Yes. So it's bayetlamad@gmail, not Lamed Lamad Bayet is wrong. And then our YouTube channels are on there as well. We have a lot of great videos on the YouTube channel. All the things we're talking about, we have dedicated specific YouTube videos to those things. So please go there, browse and watch these things, share them. Make sure that the word goes out to other people looking for help. If you're looking for professional coaching too, we are able to help you go through that. You would have to compensate us a little bit for our time because it takes a long time to make this happen. So feel free and reach us at bayetlamad@gmail.com. We'll be able to help you go through your documents, read through stuff for you and help you do this, properly. Now, I should say that we're not lawyers or legal experts, but we've done this. We've gone through it. I came to the US in 2017. Moved through several programs. So and same as Alfred. He's been here for a while. He's helped and coached a lot of people. We have a lot of experience that we can help look at your document. And sometimes talking to the right people helps make the process a little easier. So
and you can also use the WhatsApp link to send in your questions and your interactions, and we will respond to you as soon as we can. And our interest, most importantly, is to help you. We are Africans, and we believe that most of our colleagues in Africa can have the opportunity to live their dream and study so that we can all make impact in our country. We want you to be here because there are a lot of opportunities for you. We also help people in when it's come to applying for school, what specific school should you look at? How do you apply to get good scholarship? These are things that you must get proper help in order. We have gone through the process ourselves. All of us are studying on full tuition scholarship, so we know how to go do that. Paul is in Yale, and you can imagine how difficult it is to get into Yale and study full scholarship in Yale. So try and see how you can connect and how we can help you.
That's right. So these are some of the things that we think that you should know. And again, the information we are sharing now is on the US Embassy website. It is a requirement. You need to have all of these information. So go on the website and read the details for yourself. But definitely, you cannot go to the embassy without a passport. You cannot go without a current I-20, right? So especially for the pandemic babies, for all of you going to the embassy during the pandemic, some of you have missed your previous date, and because of that, you have needed an updated I-20. Make sure that you are going to the embassy with the updated one, not the old one that you didn't use because you didn't get a date. Make sure you have your correct I-20. Make sure you have your CV's fee receipt, right? And you should know what your CV's fee is. It's that tall, long number on the top of your I-20. It is a very important number. It's very unique to you, and you have to pay for that. And so go to the embassy with the CV's fee receipt. It's very important. Definitely your DS-160 confirmation page is another important document that you need. Those of you who are yet to fill the form, you probably don't know this, but after you fill out the DS-160 form that we talked about in our opening session, you would and you confirm that you would be giving a confirmation page, and the confirmation page is very important for you and then also for the embassy. So make sure you do that. Okay. And then you also pay your visa application fee. Now, the CVS fee is different from the visa application fee. In Ghana, and sorry for those of you who are not in Ghana, we don't know the situation in your country, but in Ghana, what we have is GN Bank. Is it GT Bank or GN Bank, Alfred? It's
GN is Group Indum. It's GT.
GT Bank, right? GT
Yes.
Bank is the authorized bank that collects the visa application fee. So the instruction again is on there on the US Embassy website. Make sure you figure that out and go to the embassy with that. Your photo ID is very important, especially for those of you who are not able to upload your soft copy picture. Go with a hard copy and make sure that you have that intact, because it's very important for your passport. It's very important for your visa if you get approved. Now, the last set of documents, which we call support documents or supplementary documents, are documents that would prove and establish your story as concrete, right? Which will include letters of all kinds. So if you say you are going to America to study, what shows that? That would be your admission letter or letter of enrollment from the dean or all of those things. Bank sponsorship letters, scholarship letters that you received, all the letters that you received during the process, confirming something at whatever stage in the process. It's very important to support your story. So go with all letters of all kinds. For the proof of funds, typically we have bank statement, but sometimes people have affidavit of support, which is also like another type of a bank statement, but it is those types are reserved for foreign sponsorship. So for instance, you're in Ghana, you're in Nigeria, you're in Kenya, and your sponsor is in the US. In that case, your sponsor may need a bank statement or may need an affidavit of support. So that is also very important for you to have with yourself. Certificates of all kinds, your school certificate, your license, if you are a licensed professional in any way, test scores, if you wrote a GRE, you wrote TOEFL, GMAT, MCAT, all of those kinds of documents are important, and your school transcript, because all these things prove something at some point in your life. Sometimes you might need your birth certificate, you might need your marriage certificate if you're filing for you and your spouse, and you need to establish the fact that you are truly married. You might need all of these things. So there are no like right or wrong support documents. In some cases, a WhatsApp chat snapshot can even be a support document, because it might go a long way to prove something. In some cases,
when your spouse, you have a spouse here, that's for a different category of visa.
That's for a different category. But I'm just saying that there are some things that there are documents that the support documents are documents that we cannot necessarily predict and say that there's only a bank statement alone that you need. No, there are multiple things that can prove multiple aspect of your story. So you have to think through that process very well to prove that. The Alfred, am I missing anything before I move on?
I think the other thing I want to talk on before we go to the Q&A is that now, because of the COVID-19, there are a lot of bad lucks. How do you call it? Is it
backlog?
Backlogs, yes. So some countries are finding it difficult to find appointments.
Okay.
And for example, in Ghana, when you log in, you see there are no available appointments at this time. There's no way you can book an appointment. And there's nothing anyone can do about it. Because it is the embassy that opens the availability for us to pay. So the advice I give to people is to keep monitoring. But as to monitor with time, right? Monitor with time. One. The Ghana embassy, for example, have done their system in such a way that when you log in 3 times, at a certain point, you are logged out. You must take time to you lose your
it's a security measure.
Yes,
it's a security measure. Yeah.
Good.
You don't want anybody to hack your system. Yeah.
Yes. So it is always good that you check once at night. Think about somewhere from 12 a.m. Wake up 12 a.m. Check it and see. If you don't see anything, check at somewhere in the afternoon, 1 o'clock p.m. Check at odd times and try and see if there are available appointments. When you go and you check and there's any available, even if it is 20, 30, 10, pick it.
Book it.
And use it to request for emergency. Please do get it. So the other aspect is that now the embassies know that this is the time that schools are issuing admission letters. They work closely with the school calendar. This is the time they are issuing I-20. So there's no need to open appointment. When they open appointment, some people will just log in and just waste it. So watch out whilst we are entering into March. Watch out. Keep your eyes open. If you are in this country where you are finding it difficult to find appointment, watch out in March, April, May. I know in Ghana, there was a communication that from March, they are going to open the appointment for people. So watch it out. Now, after you have gotten an appointment, if you are requesting for emergency, mind you, you can request for emergency only once on any visa fee that you pay. So if you have appointment and you request for emergency and you are denied, unless you pay another visa fee and book another appointment to get another emergency application. Now, when you are applying for the emergency, it is always good. The emergency is an appeal to the embassy to explain yourself that this is your condition and the time available will not favor you. So please, is there any availability for them to give you opportunity? So you are requesting. It is a request. So you request right. You request by writing the right words first. It's more like an email, because when you open, there are some requirements. You have to the message box. Hello, or dear sir or madam. Then you explain your issue. My name is Paul, and I've applied for visa interview for my F1 or for my studies in Columbia Theological Seminary. Unfortunately, my appointment date does not favor the school start date. My appointment date does not favor the school start date. I would be grateful if you could offer me an emergency appointment that will help me appear for interview to that will help me appear for my interview. Then you state when the date you had. My initial appointment date is on 25th October 2023, and my school start date is on 1st January 2022. And according to my school calendar, I have to report for orientation on this and on this. So it is important that you write a good letter, because those who give the emergency appointment, they are humans like us. Most of them are even Ghanaians. So when you just go and request, then you put in anything, they will not mind you. So all the emergency I have requested, I've never requested an emergency and I've been denied before, because I write it respectfully, I write it well, I compose it well without errors. And some of these things, it is not difficult. Let somebody read it for you before you post it. Let somebody check the message, the content, if it is respectful, before you post it. In some countries, it is important to check. They have timelines. Like Ghana, there is a 45-day interval. So you can only request for an emergency 45 days to your start date of school. So if your start date is August 25th, you can't request for emergency in March, because
it's too early.
It is too early to request for emergency, because the consulates assume, the embassy assume that by then they might have opened. So every embassy has their own specific. Generally, it is 60 days, but for Ghana, it is 45 days. For other countries, like I know people who went to Ivory Coast and they just requested, they didn't take even the dates into consideration. They requested and they were approved. So it depends on the embassy, and you must always get this information before you put in your request. And finally, when you are applying for emergency, there's a space for you to put an attachment. You have to scan and attach your I-20. You have to scan and attach, importantly, if you have, it is not required, but if you have a receipt of your service fee. And these two documents are enough. You can add your admission letter or an email your school sent you about the start date or about something, just for them to see. Most importantly, your I-20, and most importantly, your, school receipts, your service fee receipts. People talk about DS-160 confirmation page. Well, if you have done filling your DS-160, fine, you can use it. But if you have not, because personally, when I'm applying for visa, I don't submit my DS-160 immediately. I submit it about 4 days to my visa interview. So I don't use DS-160 confirmation as part of the document I use for applying for emergency. So these are important things that you must pay attention to when you are requesting for emergency. One, monitor the system. Try and monitor as much as you can, and get any dates that you can get available, then use it to apply for the emergency. You write well, write humbly, and try to request that they help you or they grant you audience and approve your emergency. Very important.
That's right. I see a lot of people putting questions in there. So we're going to try to answer as best as we can. We are going to start from those in the chat, and then we'll go to those online, and we will read also from the Google forms that people filled and people asked questions. So I'm going to go all the way to the top so that I don't miss anybody. Somebody says one of the popular assumptions is that unmarried or single people are more of a flight risk. How does one prove beyond reasonable doubt that the purpose of travel is education and education only? Well, so I see two questions there. It's not true that if you are unmarried, then you are more at risk. It's not true. It's also not true that if you are married, that you are more at risk. Like we have repeatedly said, there is not one way of getting the visa. It depends on your overall story. It depends on how convincing it is. The most important thing is that you remember the three things we said. You have to prove that you're a genuine student. However you're going to do it, whether you're married or not, there's not one way of proving that. It depends on your story. I came into this country when I was not married. I came in as a single person. Alfred also came in as a single person, and we all got our visas. It depends on your overall story. So it is not true. There are other ways that you can prove that. And if you want to talk further, because I know that some of these things, it depends on what other instances are in your life. So we might have to ask a few more questions before we can direct you as to what exactly to do. So if you want to talk further about that and tell us a little bit about your story, we can help you think through some possible answers. But get it right. There's not one way of doing that. And the second part is that how do you prove beyond reasonable that you're going to study and you are going to school alone? It's your oral conversation. You already have admission. You already have scholarship. That's enough. It shows that the school is very interested in you, and they've given you the money. They've given you the admission. So if they ask you the question, where are you going? You should be able to show, if I am a genuine student, or if you are a genuine student, I'm trying to detect whether you're a genuine student. If I ask you where you are going, you should know the name of the school. If I ask you why are you choosing that program, you should know the name of that program. If I ask you what is your research about, you should be able to tell me that. And the way you would tell me about your school, your research interests, the things you want to do, and the kind of plans that you have, it will tell me whether you yourself, you're a good student or not.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what it is.
And Paul, one other thing, some consulates ask, how many schools did you apply? That's also one way. If you apply possibly to more than one school, 2, 3, 4, it means that, yes, you are really want to come and study. It doesn't mean if you apply to only one school, you are not coming. I applied to only one school. And I went and I explained the reason why I applied to only one school. I applied because my supervisor connected me to the school. I spoke to the school and I was assured of admission. So there was no need to apply to another school. And the consular realized it is reasonable. The other reason, Paul, when it comes to why you are going to study, genuine study, is that a lot of people use agents to help them apply for the school. So because of that, they don't go through the process. Or even if you allow an agent to apply, you must go through the process. Look at it
yourself.
Yes, look at it yourself. Know why. So when you go to the interview, they ask them questions and they are taken by surprise. And the other aspect is that the consulars, when they ask you a question, they only make like they make up their mind. Whatever you tell them, most of them will not ask for clarification. Some consulars will ask for clarification or additional question on that. For some of them, as soon as you tell them and he knows that this person is not coming to study, he move on and he will ask you another question. He has already made his opinion. So the genuine way for you to express that you are coming to study is, one, have a story. Don't copy somebody's story. Explain why you think you are coming to study, why you are coming to study in that school. Don't only link it to the school have a wonderful library, the school have a good faculty. Link it, as Paul said, your research interest, why you are coming to that school. Maybe your professor, somebody have already been into that school, somebody recommended that school. All this, it must come in. There was a guy in Italy who contacted me about his visa interview. He was coming to study in Maryland. And he got to the school because of his research supervisor. He was looking to do a research on a specific field where the school didn't have that capacity. So because his supervisor studied in the school in America, he had some resources. So he connected him to a professor here where they spoke and they like him and they said he should apply, and he got it. So when you go for the interview and they ask you why, that is your story. I'm going to study because yes, this is my research interest and my current school couldn't help me with that. So my professor connected me to this professor who has agreed to help me. That is your story. That is what makes you unique. And everybody will understand that, yes, this is what you are talking about. And the confidence in which you use to answer and talk about the school even shows that you are interested in coming to the school. And Paul, the other thing is that most of the consulars ask, why are you coming to study in America? And why did you choose that school? I tell you, the answer to these questions are the same. It is the same question put in a different...
It's the same question.
So people answer differently and they contradict themselves.
Yep.
I'm coming to study in America, not because America is good, but it's because of the school I'm coming. It's because of the connection I've had with the professor. So if that professor was in UK, that means I would have gone to UK. Then you don't make America as if America is the only country that you need to study. You connect it to the school and your interest so that consulars will know that you are coming because of the school. And that establishes your purpose of studies. Yeah.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like, they are not looking to trick you. You just have to be sincere, be yourself, tell what exactly your story is. Your story doesn't have to look like somebody else who got the visa, and your story doesn't have to change so that you can get it. Just be yourself and say what it is. So somebody says, what if my foster father is sponsoring me? Yeah, that is also possible. Your foster father can sponsor you in certain situations. Like, again, the context of your overall story is very important. So we cannot just lift that up and say, oh no, it's not possible. It could be possible depending on other factors going on, assuming your close relatives, somebody who is not your foster father but is closer than your foster father, is unable to help you. Then in that case, you can say, oh, my mother is alive, but my mother is unable to help me, and my foster father is the one who has been helping me in the past, and that therefore it makes sense for your foster father to help you in that situation. But if your father is alive and your parents are alive and they can sort of help you, or they have the means, but it is your foster father, that kind of thing, then it pulls out too many information. It confuses the process and it sort of makes it suspicious. Now, let me say this about sponsorship. See, nobody's trying to trick you, or nobody's trying to collect your money at the embassy. They're not giving the visa to rich people. Neither are they giving it to poor people. The basic concept is this. A lot of people forge documents, fake sponsorship, and come into this country. And when they get here, the reality sets in. Because immediately you get here, where you live, you have to start paying. If you have a phone, you will need a phone contract. It's not like Ghana where you say, oh, I don't have credit, so I'm not making a call. No, you need a phone contract for the thing to work. And the phone contract is by month and you start paying right away. You need a way to get to the store. You need to eat. You need to and so if you don't have sponsors, you don't have the money, you will be stranded. That's one of the crazy things that many people don't know. You will be stranded. So all of these sponsorship questions and all these things is basically just to ensure that you really have some money that will support you. So let that be genuine and be real and put yourself out there. So again, to that question, it depends on the overall context of your story. In some cases, it will work. In most cases, it would not work. After this resourceful meeting, please share it to us so that we may watch it again. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. It's on YouTube right now. It's on Alfred Appiah's YouTube. So if you Google Alfred Appiah YouTube right now, you will see it, and it's going to be there for a while. Somebody says, I can't thank you enough. You are so professional and amazing. I'm really impressed. Peace, peace, peace. Okay. Peace to you as well. Somebody says, please, does the embassy accept electronic printout of I-20? Yes, they do. They do accept that. When I was coming a long time ago, the schools had to send the original copy, not the scanned copy through like UPS or any of those mailbox mail services. But now I think things have changed. There's pandemic, things are slow, so they do accept electronic printed versions of it. At the end of the day, it's your CV's number that is the most important. They're going to they're going to put your CV's number into the system, and everything that is on your I-20, they will see it anyway. So they would have access to the original I-20 once they put in your CV's details, so you don't have to worry about that right now. Yep. Again, feel free to email us at @bayatlamad. Alfred, you should answer this question. Somebody says, I learned that unless after 6 months before you can request for emergency appointment again if you are refused. Is it true, please?
Okay, so as I said, it depends on some embassies because I have when I got refused, I requested for emergency. That was then about 2019, and I got refused in May. I applied again 3 days later. I requested for emergency, and I had July 1st. So yes, I don't know specifically about that. Yes, maybe we have to ask more.
Yeah, I think it's a big misconception. You have to find out, but I think there's a wait period, but I don't think it is as long as 6 months. I think it is.
And Paul, it is okay to email your embassy that, hey, I have a question. I want to do this. I want to, and I tell you, they will respond.
Yeah.
If you put in a good email, you know how to write an email, they will respond. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Somebody private asked me a question. I try to sponsor. So Prince, if you are not satisfied and you don't think that it's a question that I should put out there publicly, feel free and email at bayatlamad@gmail. We will go ahead and reply that email and tell you what more to do as well. Some of the personal questions and some of the story specific questions, we might not be able to give a general answer. We need to ask a little bit more questions before we can do that. So if you want to contact us, Prince, and anybody else, feel free, email us at bayatlamad@gmail and we will respond. Somebody says, I hope to make changes in my new DS-160. Can that affect my chances? What should I do? Now, you can make changes, and Alfred has a beautiful video on this. I encourage everybody go on Alfred Appiah's website right now, YouTube channel right now, and look at it and watch the video. It's very helpful. But you can change a lot of things, but there are some things that are very sensitive, and you cannot just change them and let it go. Like things like date of birth. You can only be born on one day. You cannot be born on 2 days. So if you have 2 dates of birth, it's a contradiction. So if you need to change that, I think it has to be supported with a letter, probably even an affidavit that shows that you really were born, maybe a doctor's report, maybe something that will prove beyond that you just made a mistake and you were not intentionally creating or forging or reducing your date or something like that. Same applies to your marriage status. You can only be married once, and if you get divorced, you can only be divorced once or at a time, one at a time. I mean, that means that if at some point you said you were married and now you're changing to say that you are single, then you have to, if it's an error, then you have to prove that yes, you made a mistake somehow and that you are really married. Or if your status has changed, then you have to show that your status has changed through a divorce document or something like that. So there's most of the changes you can casually make them. You can change.
And Paul, the other aspects, and I like how you have explained. When you have already gone for an interview, you have been refused, and your system is then you're going for another interview. It is important to be careful what you change in the new DS 164. But if you have applied, you have not gone in for the interview yet. Yes, if you remember that, hey, I did a mistake in my date of birth, you can go back, change it, and use the new code to update your appointment profile. Where you go, you see your name, your passport, your date of birth, and under it, you see DS 160 code. You have to update it with the new code. So that when you print your confirmation page and you go and they type in, they will see the new code. For example, if you don't update and you print the confirmation and take it, they will type it and they will not see your appointment.
Yes.
Because when they enter it in their detail, it is the new DS160 that you enter that will come. But you use the old DS160 code to book the appointment. So they cannot find your appointment. So they cannot do the interview for you. So
that's right.
When you make changes before you go for the interview and you update, it won't affect your visa. And that the consular will not even see, because that is not the code that he will use to enter the system. Paul, do you understand?
Yes, I understand very well. That makes a lot of sense. Nathan, that's that for you. Somebody says, when granted the emergency appointment, you still have to obtain a date for interview, which means which means you're back to checking the system for availability of dates. Yes, that's correct. That's what you have to do. Why are you not giving a date since your case is an emergency situation? Because it's an emergency for everybody else. It is an emergency for you. It's an emergency for 1 million people. So it's more or less, it's a backlog. Everybody is looking for an emergency date. So you are not going to be singled out. It is sort of like a competition a little bit.
Yes,
so you have to
monitor. And so if you don't get a date, mind you that the emergency, they give a deadline to look for a date. If before the deadline you have not gotten a date, you send them an email. Hey, you gave me an emergency deadline on this, and my deadline is approaching. I still haven't gotten a date. Please, is it possible for you to extend it for me? I've seen a lot of cases where they extend the deadline. But if you wait and the deadline elapses, you have to apply, book, pay a new fee to request for another emergency. So please make sure you have that in mind. It is very, very important. And I say that the email you construct is very, very important. The backlog is a challenge. The backlog is a challenge. So I've been advising people, if you are in Ghana or in West Africa and you have the money, you can consider going to Abidjan or other countries. Don't go to Togo, because Togo will tell you to come back to your country for your interview. But Abidjan will receive you and do the interview for you. Somebody is asking a question on the YouTube page. Yes, we are the administrators. I'm the administrator. Paul is an administrator. My name is Alfred. I'm using my old Ghana number, so don't worry about it. When you see a Ghana number, it's still me, and you can send us an email. We are thinking of how we can help students pay service fee, right? So later we will communicate that, because sometimes it involves a lot of movement. You have to go to the bank, do this. So we have to communicate and see how we can help you pay. And the other aspect is that how you can pay it to us so that we pay it on your behalf, right? Yes. Because it's important. So we will iron all those issues out and put the information on the Facebook, WhatsApp page. Please be mindful of fraud. A lot of people will come with so many things. Be mindful. Be mindful. If something happened and you think you don't trust, go to any of my YouTube video and send me a comment that, Alfred, is it you who said it? And I'll respond.
Yes, if same to me as well.
Or go to Facebook Messenger, look for Alfred Appiah, send me a direct message. Confirm, don't allow anybody to dupe you. We really, really discourage that. And we are here to help you. We are here to encourage you So we have to be cautious about that.
Yep. A few more questions. Please, I want to know if you've already submitted your DS-160 form to the embassy and it's more than 5 months, do you need to file another DS-160 while you have an appointment coming up? More than 5 months? No, I don't think so. I think your DS-160 is valid for, I think, more than even a year or something like that.
Except that, you know, if your travel date you put on the DS1, nothing have changed. For example, you submitted January, you have your I-20, everything you submitted January, and you are going for interview in July, no problem, you can go. It shouldn't have an issue.
All right, let's go to YouTube, right? A few people have also sent a lot of questions on YouTube, and we're going to try to answer that. Udochukwu also is saying that I have joined the group. Please, I want to start up my DS-160 again. I will need your help for sure. We will help you after this live session. We are going to go to the group and look at all the messages. We'll go to the email and then we'll look at all the messages. Somebody says, can I have the email? Yeah, Alfred will put the email in the chat for you. Okay. Somebody says, can you pay for me for Duolingo English exam? I can't pay for my country. We do not use credit card and other payment options. Yes, Alfred rightly said that, and he said, I will pay you back. For sure, you have to pay us back. Alfred rightly said it. Reach out to any of us. I'm very active on Facebook. Paul Essa is on Facebook. Instagram is at p.a_Essa. Very live. My YouTube channel is Paul Essa as well. Reach out to any of us, send us messages. We will be able to help you. But most importantly, email us at baetlamad@gmail.com. And I think that's probably the quickest place you can get us to respond to you and help you with the payment. All right. Did I miss much? You are back. No, everything is on there. You would get to see it again. Video camera is not good. Well, it's good now. Okay. Somebody says, you said something about Abidjan. I want to know if I can be a Ghanaian and schedule for my interview at Abidjan. You probably will need it is possible, but you will need a reason. It shouldn't just be because you're sneaking out to make that happen for yourself. But you have a genuine reason why you want to go to Abidjan to do it. For example, if you are in Ghana, but you work in Abidjan, or you have something doing in Abidjan towards the period where your interview is around, then that means that you can plan your interview around that same time and attend your interview in Abidjan. A few cases, they might be able to give you an exempt to attend your interview in a different country if the country that you are from is extremely choked and there's no way they can help you. Especially during the pandemic, a few people have gone to other countries to get that. But essentially what I'm saying is that it's yes, but you still have to find a good reason to do that. The other question is, surely I got my I-20.
Paul, I think I've made a video on why if you want to apply for visa in Abidjan, what you need to do and why. So I will put it by the close of tomorrow, and I think that will answer her question.
Awesome. Okay, so Alfred is going to help you with that as well. Somebody says, I just got my I-20 and have literally no clue on doing that. I just joined your WhatsApp group. I'll be glad if I can, private chat somebody. For sure, yeah, WhatsApp will be good. baetlamad@gmail.com will also be a great place to reach out to any of us, and we'll be willing to help you. Note that if it is a simple issue, we might be able to help you. But if it's something that, we need, it's time intensive and all that, you would have to compensate us for our time, because it is, we don't have a lot of time. We are graduate students as well. And so notes that, just put that at the back of your mind. Somebody says, are you an admin? Yeah, we are both admins. Can you please spell it so that we can send the email? Okay. Yes, Alfred, please post the email on YouTube again. Okay, it's baetlamad, BAETLAMAD@gmail.com. It basically means the house of learning @gmail.com. Okay. Please, can you send your WhatsApp number to the chat later? Okay, yes, we can. What if you don't have a sponsor? Can you get a scholarship? Yes, everybody's entitled to a scholarship. So talk to your school, try to get scholarships. In fact, for me, in my own opinion, as long as I've been in this country and transitioned between two big programs, I can tell you that there's no better sponsorship than a scholarship from your school. So that's probably where you should start from and explore every possible chance of getting scholarships from your school or scholarships from within like your program first. And if you don't have that, or you get that and it's not enough, that's when you can supplement that with family money and your own personal money and those kinds of things. And I'm rushing through this because I know there are other questions on this and we don't want to go beyond 2 hours on this thing. So what is I-20, please? Alfred, you should answer this.
Yeah, so I-20 is basically your green card as a student in US. That is the official document that makes you legal. So I-20 is the most important document of a student, an international student in US. It is what makes you legal. So it contains your name, the program you are studying. It contains the length, when you start, when you graduate. It contains the money you need. It contains your school information, and it contains your unique number that the US used to identify you as a student. So when you come to US, you enter with a visa and you leave on I-20. So I-20 becomes your ID card as a student in US. Yes.
Nice. It's basically a document. It's a document that has all your information.
Yeah, all your information.
But most importantly, it has something we call the CVIS number, which is the number that indicates your personal details in the US education system.
Yeah, system.
So that's what makes it the most powerful. And it's signed by you. It is signed by your school. So it's basically the contract between your school, yourself, and the government, the US government, showing that you are a student in this country and you have a legal status. So it's a very important.
And when you come to US, that is activated, that you are in, then your school updates it every year with the course. So if you take less than 9 credits, 3 courses, then you drop out. Your I-20 becomes inactive. It means you are living here illegally. Or if you come and you don't go to school, it means you are living here illegally, because your CVIS ID will show in the US education system, the immigration, that you are inactive, and that is done by your school. Yes.
Yeah. Right. So basically, the I-20 also has its own policies around it. Somebody is saying, Samba, kindly type your question. All right. Kindly type it, because there are a bunch of questions and I don't know if we can receive verbal questions now, or just hold on. I'll finish the YouTube questions and then we can come to you. Somebody's asking, okay, the WhatsApp link, we have to keep sending it almost every minute because people join in and they miss the old messages. So we'll ask that. Somebody says, oh, I never knew about the emergency request. I'm just messing up everything. Yes, there is an emergency request. If you are still waiting for your interview date and you've not gotten it, there's a way to apply for an emergency date, and it's on the US Embassy website. Please go out there, look for that, request for it. Hopefully you get approved. And if you get approved, you can go and hunt for a date. That's what it is.
Somebody is also asking, can I get a WhatsApp? Sorry, can I get a scholarship after my I-20 is issued? Yes, you can. And when you get a scholarship, they give you a scholarship letter, which you take with you to the embassy for your interview. Someone also is saying, so I want to effect these changes after my unsuccessful attempts, such as marital status, sponsor, place of stay, and contact person. Marital status, you must prove that from the last time you went, so now your marital status have changed, whether you have married, and that will come with a marriage certificate, or you are divorced. But if you were single and you chose married, that will, as Paul said, that will be difficult to prove on your second attempt to say that you are not married. Right? So always pay attention to that on your phone. Please, brother, I am thinking you are talking about online education. So what about others who are coming to work? Yes, if you are coming to work, there are a lot of visa categories. You have to know the visa category you are coming with, and that will help us make a decision and on that.
Yep. Yeah. If you need to work, it's a different process. It is probably 10 times more difficult than that, but it's not impossible. You can make that happen as well. A few more questions. Somebody says, when is the appropriate time to ask for emergency date? Now, there's no any appropriate time to ask for it. The appropriate time is when you need it. So please go out there and do it for yourself. Okay. Somebody says from Kenya. All right. God bless you for reaching out from Kenya. What you have never been denied visa before. Is it a red? Is it a red flag? No, you don't have to be denied to get a visa. That's even
yes, it's a good
that's a good thing. Please don't miscalculate any of these things. If you've never been denied before, that's a good thing. Even if you've been denied before, it is not wrong. You can still correct it. We know people who have been denied 3 times and they made it work. I personally coached somebody who came to Texas in November last year and was denied 3 times. But we reviewed the person's story and realized that it could be worked out. And finally, the person got it. Alfred was denied once, but the second time he made it. I've never been denied. And this is my 5th year in the US. So it is possible that you can make things happen for yourself. Somebody says, if you change Amazon, whatever, if you change uni in 4th attempt, is it a must to tell a reason or not? I mean, there's no formula to it. If you've changed your school and the question come up, why did you change your first school to this school? Then you should be able to give a reason. There's no need thinking hard about this at all. Tell them the reason why you changed your school. Maybe you changed your school because you got a school that gave you a better offer, or you got a school that is doing more interesting research, or you got a school that you are much more like excited and enthused about for whatever the reason is. So you should be ready to explain because it might come up. And I think that it's any wise, normal consular would ask you why you change your school. So think about a reason for that. Alfred, do you have any more questions? I have a few here.
No, I don't have any. Let me see the WhatsApp page if there are some.
Yeah, look at the WhatsApp page. But while you do that, please, you were talking about changes in DS-162 code. When do that happen? Also, if you haven't gone for your visa interview and you have made changes in your DSS, will the code change? No, like, so if you make changes in your DS-160 and you update it, Alfred, would your confirmation number change?
Yes, it will change.
Your confirmation number will change, because you did update it.
Right?
Yes.
So when it changes, make sure you copy the new confirmation number. Then you take it into your application profile where they say update profile. Then you go and copy the new code and paste it to the old code and save it
and update it. Yes. So definitely your code will change. So I think that this is a very important. Hammonds, you are the one who asked that question. This is a very delicate question. If you are listening to us, let us know that you got this response. Your DS-162 code will change if you make changes, and you have to be sure that you update it and you keep the new confirmation page. Okay. If you want more clarification on this, reach out to us on our WhatsApp group with a link in the group chat, or email us at baetlamad@gmail.com. baetlamad@gmail.com. Okay. If you have any questions. Somebody says, can you please send an email again? Yep. Please, brother, I'm thinking you are you're talking about online education. Yep. Alfred answered that. Okay. Meaning I-20, please. Meaning of I-20, please. Meaning of I-20, please. Okay. We explained I-20 is the document that you need. If you have applied to a school and you have been accepted, you've gone through the scholarship process, your DSO, which is your representative at your school, is going to start talking to you about I-20, all right? And if you want to talk more about I-20, email us at baetlamad@gmail.com, baetlamad@gmail.com, or send us a WhatsApp in the WhatsApp link down there attached, okay? Let's go to Facebook and see if people have questions on Facebook. And then the last place we'll go is the Google Doc, and then we will be out of here. So somebody is, wait a second while I go to Facebook. Okay. Yep. In the meantime, look for us on Gmail. Look for us on Gmail. Look for us on WhatsApp. Look for us on YouTube. Okay, we don't have any questions online on Facebook. So I think most of the questions on here we have answered them. So I'm just going to go through them and pick out some of the ones that are very unique. There was a question about F2 visas. Alfred, do you remember that question?
Yeah.
And somebody was asking about, what about the F2 visa? Well, I don't know what you want to know about the F2 visa, but the F2 visa is the visa that an F1, the spouse of an F1 student would get. So
not your girlfriend.
Not your girlfriend. Yeah, that's different. Your spouse, somebody you're married to, you have a certificate for that. You have done an affidavit, and you have witnesses to prove that marriage. You can travel with your spouse, and your spouse will have an F2 visa. The process to getting an F2 visa is the same as the process to getting an F1 visa, which is to say that you have to prove the purpose of travel, which is to be with your spouse. And you have to prove that you have enough money to sponsor yourselves as a couple. And then you have to also prove that you're coming back home afterwards. And so you go through that same process. Note that the proof of funds for a spouse is sometimes, or not sometimes, all the time, more expensive than coming in as a single person. So you also have to plan for that, because it takes more money to take care of two people than it is to take care of one person. So remember that. And then also the interview process is the same as the F1 visa. Your spouse would go for an interview. He or she will be asked questions, and if they do well and they make what they say what is important for the consular, that proves that their story is genuine, they will be decided based on that. Now, I want to come to you, Samba, if you are still on there, and just unmute yourself gently and ask a question. What did you say your question was?
Okay, good morning or afternoon over there.
Good morning. Where are you reaching us from?
Yeah, I'm recently in Indonesia.
Nice.
In Southeast Asia.
Okay, great.
Ask your question. Good. As I'm talking to you, for here we use what we call like a kita sort of. It is kind of a resident permit. Mm-hmm. But now it is on the process with the immigration. So I don't know whether I can go to the embassy without having it.
So when you filed it, did you get a confirmation that you have requested or filed for a resident permit? There should be a confirmation or an email if you have that. And since if your interview is near and you haven't gotten that, you can go with that email confirmation or the receipt you got that shows that you have filed or applied for residence. And I think that should be reasonable.
Actually, I have also I shared the requirements, but I don't see the that document sort of. Actually, it is not among the requirements.
Yeah, there are some documents that might not be there, but it just makes sense to have it.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah, because exactly. Someone even told me that maybe if they actually done that document and you cannot provide it, they may think that you are living here illegally.
Illegal. Yes.
So it just, there are some documents that are not required, but it just makes sense to have it. Let me use the marriage thing, for example. It's not on there that you should come with a marriage certificate if you're traveling
or pictures
or pictures or whatever. But it is an important component because it might come up and they'll say, oh, what shows that you guys are married? And at some point, that certificate can help you. So there are some documents that are not required. And I think in this case, even though this document is not required, it's very important to have it just as backup, keep it somewhere. If it comes up, say, oh yeah, this is my document showing that I am legal in this country and I'm only going to study.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Somebody says, I got accepted into a PhD program recently. When do grad schools send I-20s usually? Every grad school have their own different timeline. And usually, it would depend on you because you don't just receive an I-20. If you got a full scholarship, which most likely it is the case with a PhD program in the US, then you would have to accept. And then if they need any security deposit or anything like that, you've done your part of the contract. After you do your part of the contract and you've accepted the offer you said you are coming, you've paid that small amount that they need, then it is their job to take it up from there. If you didn't get a full sponsorship, then they will require some documents from you in order to issue you the I-20. And it is only after you have submitted those documents, like your passport, sometimes they might ask you to prove some small amount of money. And after you submit all of those things, then you can receive your I-20 from there. So there's not any clear timeline. It is as quick as you respond back to them, and it is also dependent on some documents that you might reach out and find out more about. If you want to talk more, just email us. I'll go for F1 interview on Monday. My sponsor stays in the US. Will it affect me? No, it won't. Well, I should say it might. It might not, depending on how you present your story. Again, some of these context and story specific responses, it is always best for us to hear a little bit more. But I don't see a threat in just the fact that your sponsor is in the US. I don't see that it's a threat, depending on how you present the information. If you want to talk more to us, Ogechi Ekwemogu, I hope I'm getting your name right. Feel free and email Alfred or myself by lamed@gmail.com. Somebody says, good work, guys. Thank you so much. Informative session. I'm watching from Zimbabwe and I'm excited to keep up the good work. Please keep up the good work. It's a very worthwhile process. We have benefited a lot from studying abroad. It's a great experience. And I think that if you go back home after you study abroad, you would have you'd be like a better person and much more ready to contribute to your country. Somebody says we have skipped your question about what DS-160. What is the question about, Joseph? Tell us. It's not complex. There's no too complex questions for us. What is the question? Please text it again, Joseph. Sorry, Joseph Mbaya. Text your question again, please. I've not skipped your question. Alfred, listen to this question. Somebody says, if you have your interview date already and have filled out your DS-160, I'm still not courageous enough to submit it. If you have a relative in the United States, should it appear in your so you have filled out your interview, you have your interview date already, you have filled out your DS-160, but you're still not courageous enough. Well, you have to work yourself up to that point, man. You want to do this. That's why you have applied. That's why you've worked over the night. That's why you've applied and you've got the scholarship and you've got whatever. This is a chance to go out there and make this thing happen for yourself. There's no need being afraid of the process. The worst that will happen to you is the worst that will happen is a no, and a no doesn't kill anybody. A no is go and prepare and come back. And there are many people who have done it 3, 4, 5 times. So please, if you're looking for confidence, I'm telling you that I have done it from nowhere. I have done it. Alfred has done it. Many more people have done it. So you can go out there and also do it.
Yeah, and if your relatives in the United States are not direct relatives like mother, father, or close blood relatives, sometimes there's no need to include them. And even if you want to include, ask for their permission first before you do so and you submit. Okay, is it a risk to tell the consular officer that I am married but traveling alone to the US to study a 4-year undergraduate program, as my wife and children will remain to my country, and when not proving evidence to bring back my financial support to them? Yeah, Paul.
No, it is not a risk at all. In fact, for me, it is probably one of the best ways to prove your ties back to your home country. Because in this case, you have children, you have a spouse, and you are going alone. And that could be a solid reason why you return back to your country. Yeah. Because you have family ties that is going to bring you to your country. It's not a risk at all.
Yeah. And in terms of how your family will support themselves, if your wife is working, you mentioned that your wife is a teacher, your wife is a business man, or you have a business, or you have a farm that can help take care of your wife. And aside that, you can also mention that your parents are also there to support
your family.
Yes, your family, and they now support you. So that should be a reason to give as to how you can support. And one way is also to add that you are also planning to come home during the summer
breaks,
summer break, to be with your family. I think you should have a good reason to have a visa on this case. Yeah.
We are wrapping up soon, and we'll be ending the Zoom call quite shortly. There's one more question here. It says, if you have a regular date in Ghana scheduled for July, do you need to still request an emergency date? A friend said the U.S. Embassy here in Ghana only attend to emergency appointment. It's not true. They are not attending to only emergency appointments. It's not true. Emergency appointment has become prevalent because the regular appointments are choked, and even the emergency appointment, not everybody gets approved. Don't be misled by that nonsense, okay? It's nonsense. Don't follow that information. If you have a regular date in July and it is not behind,
yes. Even if you apply, you don't approve, because if you are starting an emergency in August, and the visa is issued within 5 working days. So if you go in July and you get your visa, you can still come to school.
You can still travel. So, in that case, you don't need an emergency visa. But if you applied and the date you got was in 2024 or 2023, but you have to go to school in 2020 August, then you need an emergency visa.
Or the date is in November. November, you have to go to school in August or October. Then you need emergency. Is for emergency. It's for
emergency.
Yes. So in your case, I don't think you need an emergency, but rather put the effort in how to prepare yourself well. Go and get your visa. That should be the focus.
Yes. So don't listen to all the crap out there. Okay. While you start in August, it doesn't. It's still Alfred clearly answered that. Again, I heard that there is a deliberate attempt to refuse a lot of students' visa at the embassy. It seriously made me very nervous. That's also nonsense, and I'm being very sarcastic at this because it annoys me when people put misinformation out there. And this reminds me, I have a full video on my YouTube. Just Google Paul Essa, or look at the links that we put in the chat. You would see that I have a full video on myths about the F1 visa. It's not true. There's not any targeted number. They're not intentionally refusing anybody. There's no hidden motives to this. They've not already decided who they want to give it to. If you can go out there and you will show yourself that you're serious, that you're passionate about this, and this is what you want to do, you will be given it. If 1 million people will do that in a single day, they will all get it. That's how it works. Okay. So think about it that way. Don't let any of this.
Always go and be unique. The reason why a lot of people don't get visa is that they follow the crowd. Some people, even at the day of the interview, they have prepared. But when they go there, somebody says something and they think that thing is better. So they reject all that they have prepared of, and right there, take that person's own. Be mindful of that. Be mindful of how you listen to people. Can volunteer be considered as employment? Yes, you can put on your DS-160 form that you're a volunteer. I always say, never say you are unemployed. Find something. Doing maybe a volunteer work or something. And unemployment is a clear means of immigration intent.
Yes,
because you're unemployed, you want to find somewhere to live, and you will not come back. So just think about that. And I think that
internships too. I wanted to say that internships, research assistantships, national service, they are all employment. Think that way. Okay. And put yourself there. When they ask you about your description, that's when you can say more. But try to put your hands to something, start something. Even if it's a shop that you're running, make sure you say that, I'm running a shop, I'm doing this. Always put yourself out there as somebody who is busy and somebody who is involved in something. Alfred, go on.
I think for now we have answered most of the questions, and I think there was some kind of error in the link, and most people couldn't join because of that communication. And in our next webinar, we'll try to fix that and work on that. You can have the videos on our channel. We will also break them down into series, and also upload it on Paul's channel so that you can have access to all the videos. Right.
Let me clarify this really quickly, Alfred. Lucy, yes. So what we are saying is that emergency appointments are for people who need emergency. In your single case, as you are telling us, reading from the information that you're giving us, you are going to school in August. Your regular date is in July. July comes before August. That means that you get to go to the embassy in July before the school date is in August. So you don't need an emergency appointment in this case. And indeed, I'm very sure that even if you apply for an emergency appointment, you probably will not be accepted because they would compare your situation to somebody who is in dire need, somebody who needs to go to school in August, but has a date in 2023. You and that person, who needs the date more? You understand what we are trying to say? So what we are saying, if you need clarification, is that your case is not so much of an emergency, even though the dates are very close. It's not so much of an emergency. And so we would encourage you to rather spend the time preparing to travel and, preparing for your visa interview so that you can get it once and not need any more time, right? But if your date is in a further time than your school starts date, that is when you need a visa appointment interview through an emergency pathway. Okay, so think about it that way. And also note that the emergency appointment has only become prevalent because of the pandemic. It has only become prevalent because many people are needing to go to school early, but the whole visa thing is very choked. When I was applying in 2017, we didn't need this. Like the visa emergency thing is even like crazy for me now. But now, because of the pandemic and a lot of dates have been canceled, it is important. So I would strongly encourage you to rather devote your time, just like Alfred said, preparing for your interview, because in your case, you clearly have a few days, at least a week before you go for your before you travel to study. So you'll be good. Somebody says, God richly bless you. Thank you for information, Alfred and Paul. Yes, we want to emphasize one more time, Alfred, where you can reach us, okay? And I'm putting in our links here again, like YouTube, our WhatsApp group is right there. The email is here, bayetlamad@gmail.com. Feel free and reach us on the thing, and we will respond and we will talk to you and we will help you through the process.
And please also share these videos and our channel to others, share it to your friends. We also help people to get schools, right? To get schools in Canada and US. We don't just talk about US, we also go through the Canada application process. So if you know a brother or somebody or yourself, you're looking for a good school with a scholarship, reach out to us. We'll help you to search good schools. We'll help you in writing your essays, your statement of purpose, your CVs, put them in good shape, give you samples to write. Somebody said, is it appropriate for me to apply for my visa in India as I'm currently about completing my master's here in India, or I should go back to Ghana and apply? Please, I need it. Yes, it depends on the consulate. In China, about 3 people came from China, Ghanaians, who translated from China to US because they had their visa there. The good news for you in India is that because almost everyone who goes for the visa interview are Indian, you will be unique. Your story will stand out. And if you prove beyond reasonable doubt, the consulates have no reason to give you the visa because you are not an Indian, right? So sometimes, and when you apply for the visa interview outside, it is difficult for them to establish your ties back home. So it has its own advantage and its own disadvantage. When you speak well, because it is difficult for them to establish your ties back home, it is easy to get your visas. Most Africans I have coached from Asia to US had their visas. You just have to know your case out and know what to do, especially when you're a student. It's a big opportunity for you to explain why you need to update yourself in the US. There's always a good way to go about it. So yes, check the website of the Indian embassy and see if you can apply it there. If you can, it will be better you apply it there than coming to Ghana. Yeah,
that's right.
All right. Well, I think we will end it here.
Yeah, we'll end it here. Thank you all for coming.